The Lantern series has dropped the green from the title, and the color grade, and the flight effects, and made Hal Jordan a space racist, and already broken DCU canon on Guy Gardner's existence, is making John earn a ring that already chose him, and the internet isn't super happy about that. So, here's how I would fix it by dropping the Lantern from the show as well. So let's say that hypothetically, when this show was in gestation, instead, Jimmy Gunn walks up to me and asks for a weird Midwestern low budget crime thriller that ties into not just the DC universe, but also the cosmic elements of the wider universe without going into space or using very much special effects. Tough call, tough choice, but alright, I'm up for it. You can keep Aaron Pierre. I've actually loved him since he was on Krypton, even though he bangs his fiance's mother after that fiance is brainwashed by her future child to help kill her lover's future grandson, Superman, which Brainiac eventually kidnaps. It's a weird show, but it's pretty good in the second season, specifically the first half. And Rebel Ridge, I mean, the dude rules. So keep Pierre, but he isn't John anymore. Well, not John Stewart, he's John Jones, the Martian Manhunter. I imagine setting the show in the space race of the 50s or 60s, which aesthetically doesn't change much about the way they're depicting the Midwestern small town America, and is echoed by the fact that Spider Noir is being well received, and the retrofuturism of Fantastic Four has also been a really nice uniqueness. It also echoes back to the Art Deco and Art Nouveau of the DC animated universe, and of course, if you're doing a sort of Roswellian mystery with an alien, why not reference when that was the most prevalent in American culture? So, in the show, like in most comics, Martian Manhunter either flees to Earth after the death of his people or is unwillingly brought here by an experiment gone wrong. So now the displaced and alone Martian Manhunter poses as a detective, using his ability to read minds and his ability to walk through locked doors to make bank and lay low as he learns how to fit in on a new planet, kind of learn the lay of the land. The mystery that he would be solving would be that a small town somewhere outside of Vegas, I imagine, has started attracting people. They even dream about this town, which doesn't appear on any pre existing maps. And what's worse is that when people finally give in to that call, they don't come back. Missing Persons case uncovers a deadly cult in the middle of nowhere, keeping the appearance of a small town in the US of A, but is actually serving a much darker purpose. Now, there are a couple different possibilities I would pitch to old Jimmy Pistola here on this one. I imagine this could either be the worship of anti-life as a concept. I like the idea that it's ingrained into the earth, either literally or on like a metaphysical level. A cult to the actual Lord of Darkness, Darkseid himself. And, if we're down for doing magic instead of just cosmic stuff, we could tie into Trigon, which could set up the volley for Teen Titans, Raven stories, stuff like that. Maybe even something with Zatanna and Constantine later down the line. But I could understand maybe not wanting to do that because we're trying to keep it cosmic, and I'm not sure if James would want to do Darkseid so quickly after Zack did him, even though Darkseid is a multiversal threat, so it could be the exact same Darkseid that we saw in the Justice League movie, now being worshipped by a cult in the DCU. But I could understand if he doesn't really want to compete with that. I also considered the Court of Owls, but it feels wrong to tie into a distinctly Gotham and Batman centric concept without Batman or Gotham either being in this story or so far in any of the stories that the DCU has announced or explored, which also rules out the League of Assassins and the often overlooked Order of Saint Dumas. I briefly considered tying this into a dark mirror to the Court of Shazam, maybe including Black Adam, but again, I assume he would nix it for the same reasons he might not be keen to see Darkseid on the screen again. Really fun big bad that I actually think would be maybe one of the best options is a cult to the center, which is the big bad voiced by Keith David in Justice League New Frontier. New Frontier is a great movie and a pretty amazing comic run by Darwin Cook. So is the Absolute Martian Manhunter run, which is unfortunately going on hiatus right now, but the writer and artist said that they've been invited to come back whenever they want, so here's holding out hope. And so, in this story, Martian Manhunter has to learn about himself, learn about the human world, solve the mystery, and stop the cult. Maybe the girl who's gone missing reminds him of his daughter or his wife, depending on the age you want to cast that character. Maybe Kyle Chandler plays the guy who asked the Martian Manhunter to go manhunting for him. Or maybe he's revealed at the end to be a figment of John's imagination to help him cope with Earth life. He's actually a Buck Rogers type that Martian Manhunter watches on late night TV and has been imagining to help him solve this mystery the entire time. At least from my perspective, that's how you do a low budget crime story in small town Americana that somehow connects to DC and also implies things about the cosmic power struggles of that DC universe. You could even say that the Martian Manhunter from this saga, still played by Aaron Pierre, posed as a background character from Superman Legacy or Peacemaker or Creature Commandos, implying that he was back there keeping an eye on things or subtly steering the universe in a specific direction, or that this mystery that he's solving eventually caused him to go to space to seek help defeating an imminent evil that he only managed to slow down by stopping the cult. Or, if it's the center, you could say he absorbed the consciousness and the insanity of this primordial creature, and it drove him mad, or he had to go to space to work through, having a different personality in his head. There's a lot of ways you can explain a guy disappearing from the 50s to 60s here, and as a shapeshifter, he doesn't even have to have actually ever left the building. He could have been here the whole time. Of course, some other changes I would make to the show that's different from the way that HBO seems to be handling it is that I would actually have color in the scenes, have the character actually use their powers, and paying homage to the genres that created the character, in this case being pulp noir and the space race, which gave us Martian Manhunter, and not being afraid of what makes the cosmic side of DC so interesting, even if you can only look at it at a macro scale. Maybe the town he's investigating is even called Kirby, Arizona, or Samixon, Nevada, as homages to some of DC's greats who have influenced that space cosmic side of DC for so long. You could even make this an anthology series where every year follows a different detective solving different mysteries, maybe even calling it Detective Comics or Detective Saga or Detective whatever, because it's not a comic. But you get what I'm saying. The Question could be next, or Detective Montoya, or, and this is a little out of left field, a World War II field reporter and ancestor to Lois Lane who finds the Amazons and learns about the Island of Warriors. Or you could do Detective Chimp if you want to blow the budget on a CGI character, which I would not suggest since I think that breaks the concept, but CGI characters are kind of a James Gunn staple, so I wouldn't rule it out entirely. My point is that even with a small budget and the prompt of making a small town mystery with deeper ties to DC and the very same cast that James Gunn signed off on, you can make a compelling story. You don't have to settle for lore breaking, powerless, khaki colored sludge on your television. It's okay to be critical of a company. It doesn't make you less of a fan. Just be sure to present those criticisms in a respectful tone. And if we're, spitballing here, don't hyperfixate for 13 years on costume details, line deliverings, or imagined slights in a narrative that you made up that happens to keep you up at night for the better part of a decade. There's a difference between having an opinion and having a mental breakdown, after all. Anyway, only time will tell if Paramount sees potential in this show and the DCU overall, or if it gets Batgirled faster than you can say Ayer cut.